I just go first on this quickly because you already attacked me on Trey Lance? I want to be very clear.
Yeah.
I did not watch North Dakota State. I am not Phil Steele at the Senior Bowl.
We were.
I was not somebody before the draft like, oh my God, Trey Lance is the guy. You guys have, because 2 years ago, I picked the Niners to make the Super Bowl when he was supposed to be the starting quarterback, thought that meant I think he's awesome. When it really meant if Jimmy Garoppolo can go to the Super Bowl with that team, I think literally anybody can. And then it was proven because they went to the Super Bowl that year with their third-string quarterback, who you guys now love, but that's what happened.
He leads the league.
Okay, it doesn't mean I'm a huge Trey Lance guy. With that said, I think that this now made it so much harder for the Cowboys to sign Dak, and I don't think they were going to either anyway. Because now, if there is a world that exists where it's like Dak actually really wants to be the Cowboys quarterback, but wants as much money as possible.
Yeah.
And so if theoretically Trey had this game, all the yards, all the highs, and 0 interceptions, that Dak would have been like, ooh, boy. Okay, yeah, you're offering to make me the highest paid quarterback in the league right now. I'll take it. $56 million, yeah, I'll take it. But instead, he had this game, and Dak now can be like, okay, so no matter what, you have no backup plan.
Yeah.
So I can just push this leverage, hit the open market, and you'll still offer me as much money as possible, and then I'll make the choice. So I don't think they are signing Dak Prescott before this year because I don't think Dak is going to accept anything under $60 million.
I thought 60 or 60.
Okay. First off, we got to address Nick's revisionist history about Trey Lance. Because I know a lot of you guys know that he was high on Trey Lance. Now he's trying to act like he's not. Now he's just trying to act like, oh, I just believed in the 49ers that anyone can do it. No. Okay? Because first off, he was praising the move that the Cowboys went out and got Trey Lance. He was calling out Shanahan, saying that what Shanahan did to Trey Lance is awful and bad business, and he's made a big mistake. He went on, right? He did that on First Things First. He also, without a doubt, did it on The Herd, and I believe even Colin's individual, personal podcast. So, no. He has been high on Trey Lance, been trying to act like Trey Lance has, can show a lot. And that's clearly not the truth. And he's still trying to be like, oh, Brock Purdy's beneath Trey Lance. And therefore, if Trey Lance was with the 49ers, he would have the success that Brock Purdy has had. And the dude threw 5 interceptions in a preseason game. I mean, like, that's not good. There's no other way to spin it. There's just not. I don't care who you're playing with. Like there's just no positive way to spin that unless it was all 5 perfect balls and they were all just tipped, right? Then we could say okay, but like, come on, let's be serious here. So the interesting though that I do agree with Nick though, and there you go. You guys can't say that I only disagree with Nick because that's not the reality. I do understand what Nick is saying. And I don't necessarily disagree. He's saying that a game like this, right, with Trey Lance, because that was their bargaining chip for the Cowboys to be like, we got Trey Lance. Trey Lance is a top pick, man. Like, he's actually pretty good. You just wait and see. And it would back Dak a little bit in the corner because they would say, listen, we have a really good quarterback that if you don't want to take $55 million, $50 million, whatever it may be, we're going to play Trey Lance. We're better off. We can get Trey Lance. We'll probably be able to sign him for like $30 million. I mean, since he hasn't played, I mean, gosh, who knows what type of contract if Trey Lance was given the opportunity to start. I mean, like at this point after this game, the dude would take a $5 million contract, quite frankly. I mean, he would take whatever whatever anyone would give him. But let's say he actually played pretty good, right? Pretty decent, where you could say, all right, let's say he played like Zach Wilson did for the Denver Broncos the other night, which was very impressive from my viewpoint. They would still be able to get Trey Lance for peanuts moving forward, right? Saying like, hey, we're going to legitimately move forward with Trey Lance. We could get this guy for like $20 million, $18 million a year for the next 4 years. Like, that's what we're going to do. And that would be legitimately enticing. Right? Like that would, because if Trey Lance is good enough and you get him for really insanely cheap, then you can continue to build your team. It's going to be attractive to a new coach if you move on from McCarthy. It just makes Dak now have a lot less bargaining power in general. But now when this happens, Dak is like, oh yeah? Okay. Go ahead. Go with Trey Lance. Be my guest, man. Go. You said Trey Lance has got it. He's 24. You can get him for cheap. Well, now you know why you can get him for cheap. Go ahead. And it does seem like Dak wants that money. I mean, he said it. He said repeatedly, it's my job to keep elevating the bar, for quarterbacks and how much money they get paid, which is dumb. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. That is not his, I think he literally referred to it as his number one responsibility, which is just insane. He has zero responsibility to raising the rate for quarterbacks in the NFL. Nothing to do with that. His only responsibility is to win, right? Is to be the best individual football player that he can be. And that probably would mean to take a more team-friendly deal. And I'm fascinated because they obviously just paid CeeDee Lamb 4 years, $136 million. They still haven't paid Micah just yet. And now it still comes down to Micah and Dak. And I honestly don't know where it's going to fall. Nick is very confident that it won't go in a positive direction for the Cowboys, that Dak really wants that money and he really believes that the Cowboys don't want to pay him that money. But then I just don't know what the Cowboys planning on doing. It is a tough sell to pay for a wide receiver $136 million, and you're going to pay for Micah, God knows how much money that will end up being, and then you're going to get either, and I know he's not available, but either a Gardner Minshew type level quarterback, or you're going to draft and get a rookie and have to now go through those growing pains while you have a few key weapons who should be in their prime that you really want to be able to strike now. Because by the time those other players, unless you get real lucky and you get a CJ Stroud who can start immediately and hit the ground running, it's going to take some time. And by the time that quarterback now comes into their prime, not even their prime, but just comes into a position where they can legitimately be the leader of the franchise and put your team in a position to win, now CeeDee Lamb's getting a little old. Now Micah's getting a little old. And I know we're a little bit far away from that, so I'm not saying that's happening next year, but it's a mismatch. There's a reason why a team like the Dolphins went out and said, or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, went out and said, we need Tom Brady. The team that we have right now, we need someone who can win with us now. We can't get another younger quarterback. Not to mention that younger quarterback is also a gigantic question mark. At least Dak isn't a question mark. You do know what he is, who he is, and what he can do, which in theory should make it easier to build a team around him and a coach to be able to coach him, arguably more importantly. A coach will very vividly understand and deeply understand what they can do with Dak to maximize it. The problem is that Dak wants so much money, and this is probably really what you can sum up my conclusion after all of this back and forth over the months about what to do or what not to do with Dak. And I've mentioned this in the previous video, but now that this is all really coming to fruition more than anything, I think it was an absolute disaster unless the Cowboys truly reach the conclusion, without a doubt, that Dak Prescott's not good enough and that they really believe that Mike McCarthy maximized Dak Prescott, then I would have moved on from Mike McCarthy this year, and I would have done my best to get Harbaugh, Ben Johnson. Even if there's a few other coaches that I'm not even thinking about that they could have, whether coming from college, whether another offensive coordinator, and I would have just really been evaluate Dak. Do you think Dak has been maximized? Is there more that we can do? Because sometimes you need another set of eyes to be is this the best we can get out of Dak, right? Or is there another level? Because if there's another level, all right, let's do it. Let's go. If it's not, if he's been held back because of Jason Garrett, because of Mike McCarthy, because of other powers that be, then it's what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do here? And Mike McCarthy, there's not another level that Mike McCarthy is going to be able to take out of Dak now. They've been together for years. This is what the Cowboys are. This is who they are. So now you're forced to now make a decision. Do you want to continue with Dak or not? You're going to have to pay Dak before you get a new coach, or you're going to keep the coach and Dak, and then I really don't know what you're doing, because then it's why do you think you're magically going to get better? You weren't better under better circumstances. Now you're under worse circumstances, and you're magically going to be better. It doesn't compute for me. So that's why at least when you get a new coach, you could now say, Is Dak better with this new coach? Yes or no? If not, all right, we got to move on from him. If yes, then great. Maybe we can justify now paying this amount of money, right? If Harbaugh comes in and says Dak is a great quarterback, I want him, pay him the $60 million. It's a no-brainer. You do it. Harbaugh said it. We hired Harbaugh for his expertise, for his offensive genius, for his ability to understand what a team needs and doesn't need. Okay. He says pay Dak $60 million, and then he says we can actually move on from CeeDee Lamb, like whatever it may be. That's what you're getting behind. That's what you do. But now it's just like, what are we talking about here? It's just like, okay, we got McCarthy still, we got the same team here. You know, what are the changes? And if you're not making changes, but you're expecting different results. The famous thing is, right, that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting different results. It just does not make sense to me. So if I were the Cowboys, I absolutely would have just said, and like I said, unless I really reached the conclusion that Mike McCarthy is actually a great coach, he's been kind of misaligned, I would have moved on from him, given Dak this 1 year with a new coach, see if there can be improvement. If there's not, I'm going to be talking to that head coach, especially if I believe in him, like if it is a Harbaugh or a Ben Johnson or whoever, and I say, should we move on from Dak? Like, is that what you want to do? Should we kind of, do we have to hit the reset button here, draft a quarterback, whatever it may be? And then you kind of go from there. But right now, what the Cowboys have done ultimately is just made the situation messier, more confusing, and I think it makes it harder for them ultimately to make the best possible decision. Mainly because we are not going to get new data this season. And if you're not going to get new data, then it's just going to be harder to make the appropriate decision. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? One, what do you think about the revisionist history of Nick Wright now suddenly saying, I don't think Lance was ever that good? What do you think about Trey Lance's performance, I guess, and how it impacts Dak Prescott and, you know, that whole thing? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.